There's a man you've probably seen, maybe at the gym, maybe at work. Maybe you've been him, briefly, before you slipped back into old patterns. He doesn't talk much about women. He isn't bitter about them. He isn't performing detachment to seem like he doesn't care. He simply has somewhere to be. And here's what no one explains about that man. He isn't trying to be attractive. That's exactly why he is. If you've spent years doing everything you were told, showing up, investing, giving your best, and still found yourself watching her choose someone who seemed to give far less, this isn't a dating video. It's a pattern you've been living inside without ever seeing it from the outside. Here's the uncomfortable truth at the center of this. Most men who give up on dating don't actually give up on women. They give up on something else. They give up on the belief that their worth is something she decides. They stop performing. They stop auditioning. They stop reshaping themselves based on what they think she wants to see. And the moment they do that, something shifts. Not in her, in him. Here's what no one tells you about that shift. When a man stops needing approval, he stops leaking it. And the energy of a man who doesn't need you to choose him is one of the most disarming things a woman can encounter. Not because it's a strategy, because it's real. Because she's surrounded by men who are quietly, desperately asking, "Am I enough?" And here's a man who already answered that question for himself, without her input. That is the hidden code. Not detachment, not game, not mystery for mystery's sake. It's called having a center that doesn't require her permission. And once you see what that actually looks like, you can't unsee it. Point 1. Predictability of need. Most men think predictability is about texting too much. It's deeper than that. What she senses, before any message is sent, is whether you need something from her. Not attention, not validation, not reassurance, need. And that need has a frequency. It vibrates in the way you respond a little too fast, in the way you shape your plans around her availability, in the way your whole energy lifts or drops based on whether she replied warmly. Here's what most men miss completely. She doesn't feel your texts. She feels why you're sending them. And when a man's inner life is undisturbed, whether she replies or doesn't, that stillness is louder than anything he could write. Point 2. The borrowed center. Ask yourself this honestly. When did you last make a significant decision about your own life, your time, your work, your direction, without running it through the filter of how she'd respond? Most men don't realize they've done this. They've handed their center to someone else. Not consciously, not as a choice. It happens slowly. A man starts measuring his worth through her reactions. He reads her silences like a verdict. He adjusts his behavior to stay in her warmth. And somewhere in that process, he disappears. Not to her, to himself. And here's where it gets dangerous. A man without his own center cannot be attractive to a woman with any depth. Not because she's choosing strategically, because genuine connection requires two people. If he is a mirror, reflecting whatever she brings, there is no one there to connect with. She isn't looking for her reflection. She is looking for something she cannot predict, cannot redirect, and cannot move. Point 3. The scarcity of a man at peace. Here's something almost no one in this space will tell you. Peace is rare, not the performance of peace, not indifference dressed as calm, not emotional unavailability dressed up as strength, genuine, settled, quiet peace. The kind a man carries when he has answered the hard questions about who he is. Not for a woman, not for the algorithm, not for the approval of the room, but for himself. That man is rarer than you think. And she knows it the moment she's near him. Because everyone around her is creating noise, competing, proving, signaling, asking, "Look at me, choose me, want me." And here's a man who isn't asking. In a world of infinite digital noise, read receipts, social media, 100 men a swipe away, Stillness is the scarcest thing a man can offer, not mystery. Stillness. Point 4. The walkaway standard. Let me show you what this actually looks like. The man who gave up, not on women, but on needing them to complete him, didn't become cold. He became grounded. And grounded men don't chase. Not because they play games. Not because they've read the right books. Because they have a life that is already full enough to walk away from anything that would require them to abandon it. Here's the reversal nobody prepares you for. The moment a man becomes genuinely willing to walk away, she stops looking for the exit. Because his peace doesn't depend on her answer. And she can feel that. That is the walkaway standard. Not coldness, not manipulation, not punishment. Character. The deepest, quietest, most compelling form of it. A man who can walk away from the wrong thing is the only kind of man who can be trusted with the right thing. The mindset shift. The men who gave up on dating didn't give up on love. They gave up on smallness. They stopped shrinking themselves to fit a version of attraction that required them to be less than they actually were. They stopped performing for approval and started building something they actually respected. And here's what happened. They became present, not as a tactic, not as a technique, but because they were actually there, in their work, in their purpose, in their relationships with other men, in the hard interior work that most men never do. Emotional steadiness is not indifference. It is the discipline of returning to yourself again and again, regardless of what she does. When she pulls back, you return to your mission. When she tests, you stay rooted. When she disappears, you don't collapse. And slowly, without announcement, without strategy, you stop being someone she can redirect, and you become someone worth orienting toward. Most men will hear this and think it's about tactics. It isn't. It's about who you're choosing to become. When no one is watching, when she isn't there, when the work is hard and the mission is all you have. If you're done performing for approval and ready to build something real from the inside out, drop a comment right now. I am grounded. Let the men in this community see who is actually doing the work. Subscribe if you're building something worth having, and if you know a man who is chasing his way into smallness right now, send him this. Today, not tomorrow. Stay strong, stay grounded. Keep building.